Testing. There we go. Hey, welcome. Hey, keep on coming in. We have a fun time. You guys, I will tell you up front, you created this awesome, amazing challenge for us here at Mr. Road this time around. So, hey, my name is Gerald Warren. I'm one of the elders here. I guess the best way to say it is I'm a host, an MC. Let's go with MC. That kind of helps you get through this entire process, which is how do we introduce Mr. Road to you in such a way that you get to know who we are, and you're like, oh yeah, this is actually where I want to be. Or, ooh, I don't know, I don't think so. So come in, let's just try and get into the center section if we could. It's going to be easier for those who are teaching. Can you hand me that? It's going to be easier for those who are teaching to be able to see you and talk to you. It kind of feels a little more intimate that way. I apologize for being in a bigger venue than we normally are. We normally try and keep these in a smaller classroom, but you guys decided to bring 93 people, which we've never had before, register for this class, and bring with that 63 children. I think the number is like 48 of those children are in fourth grade or below. So you guys are bringing a church basically into our church is kind of the idea. So hey, let me really quick try and tell you the lay of the land, right? So today, this is week 2, and in week 2 through 4, through the end of this time, every week, for the next 4 weeks, you're going to have a time of teaching, which is what you're going to have in just a couple of minutes. Today, Jeff Henry is going to teach, come and talk to you guys on section 2. And then we're also going to have breakout groups. And from those breakout groups, you're going to be hosted by an elder couple. Each of you hopefully got an email from me yesterday that kind of said, hey, this is, hey, welcome, remember, and this is who your elder couple is. And when we get to that point, the way it's going to work, it's going to be chaotic, but it's going to be fun. I'm basically going to come up here and say, hey, listen, if you're with Bob and Denise Bayless, then you are going to go to that circle, and Bob and Denise are going to stand up, and you're just going to follow them. Because it's chaos this time around with so many people, and I love chaos, so let's go. So anyway, that's kind of the deal. If you did not go to dinner last week, the second of those 2 dinners is tonight. And that dinner is at 5 o'clock, also in this room. It goes from 5 to 7. So if you didn't make it last week, please try and make every effort to make it this week. It's another piece or segment of the teaching. Andy talks for a couple of hours. Dinner's right in the middle of it. Usually it's barbecue, which is really good. I think it's Henry's. So it should be something you really enjoy. Okay, any questions for me? Awesome. Jeff Henry, you're up.
All right. Well, good morning. This feels kind of weird, but it is a big class, so I'm at the top here. Glad to see you. My name's Jeff. I've been at this church for about 20 years. I have a wife, Wendy, and 3 kids, a son who's 15, and girls who are 13 and 11. This is our church home, and so I'm really glad to see you here and maybe interested in joining the church. It's been a really important part of our lives. When I first started, I was a college student, and the pastor before Andy was known for some long prayer of the churches. If you grew up in kind of a more traditional church, it would be a long prayer. It was 6-7 minutes, sometimes pretty long. But I noticed that some people were kneeling during the prayer of the church, and I was like, I'll try that out. Those are probably the holy people. And I realized that kneeling and praying looks a lot like sleeping, especially if you're a college student. So I had kind of some early years at the church. I almost didn't make it. I wasn't very plugged in early on. I kind of came to church, sat through the sermon, and then left and started thinking, why is this not feeling great? This doesn't feel like a church. It just feels like something I'm doing. And my father said to me, maybe it's because you're not doing anything, right? You're just sitting there and leaving. Maybe jump in and get involved. And that was a game changer for me. And so I love this section because we talk a lot about what it looks like to be part of the church and to be involved. So excited for that. Let's jump in. We're going to be relatively quick. We're, I think, on page 22, but ministry, vision, and plan of the church. All the information is laid out for you, so I'm kind of just going to walk you through it. And I'm going to spend a disproportionate amount of time on this very first part, so don't get nervous. We are going to move through it with some speed. But why do we have a ministry vision and plan? What is that? What does that help us with? This church, like all organizations, has to make decisions. We have to make decisions about where we spend our time, the things that we do and the things that we don't do. What programs do we start? What programs do we not? Where do I spend our resources? What does that look like for us? And so we need a guiding vision. We need a mission. We need a principle. The good news, of course, is that God gives us that. He gives that for churches as a whole. And so we are taking those principles and using them here at Mitchell Road to help say, what does it look like for us now in 2025 to follow Christ's vision for the church onward? The Bible is 1,000+ pages. It's a lot of information. That is our guide. Everything that we do goes back to the Word of God. There's nothing here that we've made up. And if you ever wonder, like, well, I don't know if that's exactly biblical, go with the Bible, right? But this is a few pages, and so it lets us make decisions and be focused on what we're trying to do. So let's jump in. Why do we exist? What is our purpose? Our purpose is to know Christ and make him known by gathering and forming mature, equipped disciples. To know Christ, we want to be, as a church and as people, in relationship with Christ. We want to know him. We want to worship him. That's right out of the gate. That's why we exist, to know Christ. But not just that, but also then to go and make him known. The Great Commission, right, tells us to go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, right? So as we think about the purpose of the church, it's to know Christ, to worship him, to be in relationship with him, and then to make him known to others. So then, how do we do ministry? What's our philosophy of ministry? Through incarnational ministry that patterns the presence of Christ in the lives of people. Andy would do his discussion kind of later, so you'd learn more about incarnational ministry at the end. And I found myself talking about it too much because I really believe in this. It's beautiful. Some of you all already heard Andy. Some of you will. He does it better than I will, so I won't steal his thunder. But this idea of incarnational ministry that Christ patterned for us and that we do is so powerful, and it's so natural. And that's how relationships work. Outside of a family relationship, where you're born into it, almost all relationships begin with some level of initiation, right? On the playground, a kid comes up and says, do you want to play with me? Right? A neighbor, you say, hey, are you new here? Right? You want to come over for dinner? It starts with an initiation, and then it goes into identification. You find an area that you have in common. Oh, me too. Oh, I like that as well. Oh, my kid's from there as well. Whatever it may be, right? There's an identification. And then great relationships have some level of invasion. They have some level of stepping in even closer. Just briefly, I'll tell you this story. My dad and I have a great relationship now, but maybe not so great growing up. It was a little rocky. And my wife had a miscarriage, and it was very traumatic, and I was out of town, actually. I was stuck in Pittsburgh when I found out this information. So I'm in this hotel in Pittsburgh, just talked to my wife for a while, don't really know what to do, and my dad starts calling me on the phone, and I'm like, nope, like I'm not even mature, I don't know what to do with these emotions, I don't even know, I can't talk to anybody about it, and he calls over and over and over again. And I finally pick up, and he says, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I love you, and I just wanted to tell you that I'm really sorry. And he prayed for me, and it was such a healing moment in our relationship, but that was an invasion. It was a risk from him. He stepped in closer and closer in a difficult moment. And so you may think back on great relationships that you have, and maybe they're not so serious as that, but those are important pieces. We want to do that as a church. We want to be initiating, we want to be identifying with people, and we want to be invading their lives for the sake of the gospel. And how do we accomplish this vision? These three pieces here are going to be the rest of the time. So we'll focus here by celebrating Christ, equipping the church, and engaging the world. We're going to go into detail because those three categories, in many ways, our church is organized that way. Our staff are organized. If you look online, you can see that we're broken out into those categories. Our programs fit into those categories. So what do those mean? Celebrating Christ, worship. In the end, as wonderful as missions is, in the end, that will end. But worship will never end. Our worship of the Lord will continue forever. And so celebrating Christ and what he has done in our lives and who the Lord is obviously a key tenet of our mission. And that's what we're all about. We're going to talk about what that looks like. Equipping the church. In Ephesians, it talks about how Christ gave pastors and teachers to equip the saints for the works of ministry to build up the body of the church. We need it. We need equipping. We need discipling. We need growth. We need maturity. We need that from our church, and so we want to do that. It's part of what we're going to do. We'll talk about what that looks like. And then engaging the world. It's not just about us. that we would go forth from here. We're not a country club or any other type of club, right? We're a church, and as part of a church, our mission is to go out and engage the world, and we'll talk about that as well. All right, let's move past the Venn diagram and down to the bottom. We plan to celebrate Christ in our brokenness through repentance and faith by worship and prayer. So you can look, I'm not going to go into all of these bullets here. You can look through those a little bit, but let me tell you just kind of philosophically what that looks like for us. This idea of celebrating Christ, worshiping in brokenness, was very new to me. And it may not be new to you, but that was unusual. I grew up in a PCA church, but in that PCA church, it was very much about looking presentable, right? You come on a Sunday morning, you wear your nice outfits, you keep the ugly sins hidden, right? It's okay if you have a little judgmentalness, a little selfishness, maybe a speeding ticket every now and then. Those things are okay. But the real brokenness, the real ugly sins, keep those kind of hidden. Nobody really wants to see that. That's not what it means to be a good Christian. We don't believe that here, and the Bible doesn't teach that, right? We are a broken people. And in that brokenness, we don't celebrate the brokenness. We celebrate what Christ has done. We celebrate his victory for us, but we don't hide our brokenness. And the people who have been in here before will forgive me for sharing this again, but it was impactful for me. Early on, when Andy was a pastor, I remember him standing up here, and he was talking about confession, he was talking about sin, and he said, all right, he's like, well, let me just take you through this past year, kind of the 3 biggest sins that I've struggled with. And I was shocked. I really was. I thought, like, he can't, like, it's fine to say that he confesses his sin, but he can't, like, name his sin from the pulpit. That's crazy. And he did. He went on, he's like, well, this, I really struggle with this, and I really struggle with that, and here's what it looked like in my life. And it was so impactful for me to hear a pastor, this leader of this great church, sharing brokenness and sin from the pulpit. I'd never seen that before, and it made me realize I can do that too. I don't have to hide that. I don't have to just look presentable. I too can share that, maybe not from the pulpit, but in my small group settings and in other opportunities. So that's what the brokenness and the forgiveness that we celebrate in that. In prayer, again, you can read the bullets. I'm not going to read all these to you, but that's part of knowing Christ. We want to know the Lord better. And so in this celebration of Christ and in our worship, that's the vision. And everything else falls out of that. We're not attached. You see, there's nothing there about a particular style of music or what type of room we're in or whether we're inside or on the field or whatever. All of those things fall out of our vision that we want to worship God in prayer and in our brokenness. All right, let's keep going. We want to get to the small groups next. So that's Celebrate Christ. So I told you there's 3 sections. Our Celebrate the Christ team, I think y'all will see the staff broken out here. But again, that would be our worship leaders, our pastors in that space. We plan to equip the church for works of ministry through discipleship and serving. I always wish that we had lots of time and I could pass out a little sheet of paper and we could all write down our definition of discipleship because it would look really different for all of us. In fact, there's a bunch of ruling elders who've been at this church for a long time, and I guarantee you that if they filled it out, it would also look different. We can't remember this full definition. So this is a definition that maybe helps you understand what discipleship is. You may have had different experiences within discipleship, but this is important. When we talk about equipping the church and growing in our faith, when you look at Scripture, a mechanism that is used often for that is discipleship. That's what Jesus did. He said, come and follow me. Live life with me. I'll teach you. You can see from my example. So experiencing Jesus' love for me in community, loving Jesus with all of me, and growing in this truth in order to share him with others. All right, we want to grow in our faith. We don't want to be stagnant. We want to continue to grow in the fruit of the Spirit. We want to become more Christ-like. And so discipleship is a way that we can do that. The programs that fall out of discipleship are listed here. We have men's and women's groups. So those are small group settings, usually 6 to 8 people. My group is pretty intergenerational. I just attended a wedding of one of the guys in my group who's 20 years, maybe not quite, but almost, younger than me. And there's guys in that group who are older than me. And so I'm learning and growing together with them. It's a beautiful thing. My wife is in a similar group. But separate. So men's and women's groups. We have community groups, which you may have heard about, but intergenerational opportunities. where you can come together, have a meal, talk about the sermon, talk about how your lives are going, support each other. It's a beautiful thing. Sunday school communities, so different Sunday schools that meet on a regular basis. A lot of those are age and interest-based, and then electives along the way. So those are smaller group opportunities. Even this group is very big, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to break up. We're going to break up into smaller groups. It's really hard to get to know people. It's hard to experience community in this setting, right? You don't feel very communal. Some of y'all may have met each other, but we're all just kind of staring forward. But in a minute, you're going to go sit in a circle with a small group. It gives you a chance to get to know people better, and that's what these small groups are intended to do. And then other general opportunities. You can keep moving kind of on to page 24. Family ministry. As I mentioned, I have 3 children. This has been an important part of our lives. They've grown up here at this church, so I've seen it from birth now to senior high, and it's been beautiful. I'm part of the Fellows Program as well, and so I see it kind of right after college, and I think that our church does a great job of that. So if you have kids or grandkids who might be in that stage, I would just tell you that I think that our family ministry does a great job of discipling children and growing them up in the faith. We don't just wait until it's like, all right, well, when you're an adult, come on in. But when you're a kid, we'll just, babysit you. That isn't the case. We spend a lot of time there. I'll tell you a funny story. So my daughter, June, she just moved out of the kids ministry. So she's now moved into the youth ministry. She's in 5th grade. So we don't go through the downstairs anymore. And she was very excited to not have to do the name tag. Because for those of you who are doing the name tag, it's a process, right? You got to have the thing, you got to go up to it's better now, but you used to have this card. It always made us late. Maybe I made her late, but we were late because we would have to go through the thing. And so she was so excited, and in her very last Sunday school class, is kind of 4th grade, the youth leaders came in, so Andrew and Becca came in, and they were talking about fun things that were coming and updates, and they were like, and this year, for the first time, we're doing name tags in the senior high. And she was devastated. Like, the kids were so upset. And Becca was like, why am I getting booed by these 4th graders? But wonderful, wonderful family ministry. I could talk about that more, but I shouldn't. So ask me afterwards if you have questions. And then counseling and safe places. You can read those bullets. But again, we are a broken people. We need help. We need support. We don't want to hide that. So counseling, more in the one-on-one setting. Our safe places are more focused groups. When there's opportunities to come together out of isolation and heal. Those are more confidential, not because there's shame in those challenges, but because sometimes you do need a smaller confidential group to talk about things that are challenging. So beautifully done, and would love for y'all to take advantage of all of those. And then serving, time, talents, and money. The church needs money, and it needs volunteers, right? We have to keep the lights on. We've got to have people pass out the bulletins or do the things, sure. But we don't need you for that, right? We don't go out and do a campaign to get new members because we're a little short on volunteers, so we need y'all to get in here and start serving. The Lord has cattle on 1,000 hills, right? Which didn't used to make a lot of sense to me until my wife wanted to buy half a cow, and I was like, cows are expensive. That's actually a lot. Lord's pretty rich. We don't need that. The Lord will provide for us in those ways. So when we talk about we want you to serve with your time and your talents and your money, it's not because we're desperate for those things. It's because the Lord uses that to grow our faith and our dependence on Him. So don't think about that as an obligation. Think about that as an opportunity, which it is. Getting involved and serving alongside other people is a wonderful way to feel part of the church. I shared that I wasn't doing that my first couple of years. I didn't feel very connected. Right? But go hold a door and see people coming in and out. Go serve in the nurseries, sing in the choir. Jump in and help in those ways, and you'll find that you feel not only more connected, but have opportunities to serve with your gifts, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. All right, and then we plan to engage the world by following where God is leading us, to love our neighbors, serve our city, renew our culture, and reach the nations. We're now on the bottom of 24. This is relatively new to the way we talk about this, but I love this. So whoever wrote this, props to you. I think it might have been Neil. Love our neighbors. It says our neighbors are our actual neighbors, family members, and people who live and work around us. Sometimes that has felt in my life very general, like love your neighbor. I'm like, but who is my neighbor? I know Jesus answers that, but like, what does that look like? It's the people who live around us. Our church is called Mitchell Road. We're named after the road that we're on, right? And so we want to care for our actual neighbors here as a church. And then as people, we want to care for the people who we are living and working with. We want to love them with the kindness and the hope of Jesus. After Hurricane Helene, we opened the youth building because we got power back there relatively quickly, and most of the people around here did not have power. And so we opened the building and said, come, charge your devices. We'll serve meals. You can, have some air conditioning, play in the gym if your kids are driving you crazy in the house. And people from around here came. And several of them have been coming ever since. One lady has joined our community group. She probably should be running our community group because she's much sharper than I am. But that's what brought her to the church, was basically being able to charge a phone when she couldn't. And she was so moved by the care and support that the church showed that she's been here ever since. So that's a beautiful thing. All right, let's keep going. On to 25. Serving our city. God has placed us here in this city, and we want to serve well by partnering with other nonprofits. This church can do a lot of things well, but we can't do everything well. And in fact, you'd probably say, well, we probably can only do a handful of things well. But there are ministries around this city who are serving in very particular ways, very specific ways, and they're doing a great job. And so we want to partner with them. We want to support them. We don't want to replace them. We want to see what those needs are, ones that we feel like are in line with our vision and ministry of the gospel, and come alongside and help them in those. So those are not all listed here, but those are on our website. We have a group of partners who we work with on a regular basis. So our community groups go and do service opportunities with them. It's a beautiful thing. Again, as we talk about serving, thinking about your gifts and your interests, I'm sure that you can find one there, whether it's building a house or caring for people who have been neglected or abused or helping to feed people who are hungry. All of those opportunities are available. So look for ways to serve our city, but we as a church are doing that. And then renewing our culture, towards the bottom of that paragraph, it says, we seek to carry out this mission in the world by integrating our faith with our work. And these are some tools that we use for that. I mentioned that I'm part of the Fellows program, and the Fellows are a small group, usually 8 to 10 recent graduates who come to the church. They live with families at the church. They're mentored by us. But one of the big components of that is, what does it look like for them as they're entering the workforce to bring their faith into that job? And the reason that I've been working with the Fellows so long is because I really wish I'd had that myself. I mentioned I work in advertising. It's not the most friendly environment for Christians, perhaps. And I had no idea what that looked like. I felt like I was living two lives. At work, I was just in the mix, and I didn't know, like, can I talk about God? What does it look like for me to be a Christian here? Out of work, I was living for the Lord, but I was very confused, and I didn't know what that looked like. And so we don't believe in this divide between the secular and the sacred, that today we come here and with all of our Christians, but tomorrow, that's more secular life. That's not how it is. And so what does it look like for us to integrate our faith into our work, into school, sitting in the stands at a basketball game, or serving on the PTA? What does that look like for us? It's hard. We want to answer that as a church and be renewed in those things. And then reaching the nations, bottom of 25, not just here at this church. The nations are here. They're here in Greenville. We have people from all over that are here, and we have opportunities to minister to them. But not just in our city. We want to continue to look out and to reach the nations, mobilizing our members in short and long-term planting and cross-cultural ministries. As part of the Great Commission, right, is go. Go, therefore. And so we have missionaries who have gone on a more permanent or semi-permanent basis. We send out long and short-term mission trips so you can go. We can support those who are going, but we want to plant, support, and care for people who are reaching the nations. That's a really important part of our church. And if you've been here for a little bit, you'll hear more about that. All right, so last piece here is on 26, and then we're done. And this is a pretty light touch. Connect. Basically, you could just replace that and say, jump in. Please do. Please jump in. Please get involved. Not for me, not for any other reason, but that you need to know other people and to be cared for in this church. It's a big church, and there are a lot of advantages of a big church. But a disadvantage of a big church, is that it's harder to feel known, and so you have to take some steps forward. So there's some things listed here: community groups, Sunday school classes, journey groups. We've talked about a lot of these, mentor moms, youth group. Our desire is for you to pick at least one of these to be connected with. And I'll talk about this a little bit more on this page, but basically, use your gifts. Find something that you love. We're not asking you to jump into something that necessarily isn't a good fit for your time or when you can do it. Find something that fits your schedule and that fits where you felt the Lord is calling you and your giftings, and get to it. Hop in on those things. You can serve. Here's a greeter, musician, choir member, usher, nursery. I've been trying, by the way, for years to be able to do the infant nursery. Like, I want to hold the babies, but that's like, you got to be prime on the list to be in the infant nursery. So I get like the toddlers. That's not quite as fun. That's a mess. But anyway, serve. Sorry, I didn't mean to project my bitterness in the situation onto y'all. But if anybody out there can help me, trying to get on the list. Volunteer. Again, some of these volunteers, if you look at this is just a short list, but from filling a Christmas shoebox to mowing a lawn to visiting an orphanage, assisting in a class, there's lots of opportunities for you with your family. There's lots of chances to get involved. Ministering here, caring for people, marriage mentoring, fellows, hospital visitation. I glanced for a second at Curtis, but I was reminded after we had our first child, we were not very plugged in here at the church, as I mentioned. I'd only been here for a few years, and we had a knock on the door, and Curtis was there. We barely knew Curtis. He was relatively new to the church at that time, and he came in, and he said, "We heard that you had a kid," and stop it, Curtis, don't look at me. And he's like, I wanted to tell you that we're excited for you, and I'm here to pray for you. And we'd had lots of visitors, and it was wonderful. But they were talking about the baby there. Nobody had stopped and said, "Let me just pray for you." I know this is probably a wonderfully difficult and beautiful and awesome time, and we as a church are behind you in this. And it was so moving. He was probably there 7 minutes, right? So moving. I remember it even now. So lots of opportunities. Go with him. Go with someone else. Go visit someone who's sick or just had a child. It's a wonderful chance. And then lead. We need leaders as well. Use your gifts if you're called towards leadership. We need teachers. I've been doing this for too long. When do y'all come up here and do this next time, right? Like, we need people to come and to lead and to teach at the church. And so we'd love for you to fill those gifts. All right. I went relatively quickly, but maybe it felt long to you. But I did want to get you to your small groups because it's a great opportunity for you to talk about these things. You may have some questions. You want to talk about areas you've already been involved, so your leaders will help with that. But let me pray, and then, Gerald, you can dismiss from there. Father, we are thankful for your church, and we know that it's imperfect. Even as much thought and work and study that has gone into thinking for these things, we know it's not perfect because we're an imperfect people. And so, Father, we trust in you. We hope in you. Our hope is not that we have all of this laid out wonderfully, but rather, Lord, that us as a church and these wonderful people who are considering joining, Father, that we're just following after you. We're chasing after you. And so we pray that you would do the work, that your Spirit would guide us, and that we would be a church that is holy and honorable to you. In your name, amen.
That was a really good taste of areas that are important. And as he talked about, one of the things we really want to do at this church is help you understand what does it look like to be in community. If you're not in a place where you can truly be known, then how do you know what it feels like to be known by God and truly loved? And that's kind of the goal, right? So what we're going to do now, we're going to break out into small groups, gives you a chance to get to know each other, gives you a flavor of what community can look like at Maturity if you're not already in. And it gives you a chance to ask questions, too. Is this really the church I want to be a part of? Or, man, I'm so pumped, I need to know more. Whichever way the questions go, that's great. I sent out some emails yesterday. Hopefully you got one. If you didn't, or if you did, you just didn't have a chance to take a look at it. The bulk of that email is if you got one, it told you who you're going to be with, the elder couple that's going to be hosting you. So just a moment, I'm going to start breaking this out. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to call on an elder couple, and I'm going to say, hey, you guys stand up, and your group is there. And we're going to go clockwise, and we're going to start over there and go back around. And you guys are just going to know, hey, oh, that's where they are. If you don't remember who your elder couple is, no worries. I've got a sheet up here that can help. My wife, Sarah, back there, she's got a sheet back there, too. We can get you where you need to go. It's no big deal. The goal in this is we're going to try and have a conversation. Today is really get to know each other a little bit, ask some questions with a way to tee off. We actually have to be done by 10:40 because by 10:45 we have to have all the chairs that are in circles back in rows. And we'll help with that, but it's going to be one of those things we'll kind of help try and get you there. Last thing on this is the group that you'll be with through the end of new members class. So we're going to try and have these groups kind of set in the same place, and each week you'll know exactly where to go. So this week is kind of a trial run. we'll get it right, and it'll work, and it'll be fun, and then we'll get you there again the next 3 or 4 weeks as well, okay? All right, so here we go. The first couple is the Pecks are actually hosting for the Baylesses this week. So Bob and Denise Bayless, if you got an email for their couple, that's going to be in this group right here. So Bob and Amy Peck, do y'all want to like kind of head in that direction? If you're in that group, that's where you're going to go. So that way you can kind of have a visual of, oh, that's who that is, all right? The next one is the Beasleys, Stan and Connie Beasley. They're going to be in that far circle way over there. So if you're in their group, that's where you're going to head off to. If you are in Paul and Janet Catalana's group, Paul and Janet, where did you go to? There you are, right back there. You are going to be over there where Sarah is right now, waving her hand. So that's where your group is going to be back over that way. If you are with Curtis and Chris DeBose, then you're going to be in that group where Sarah now is, right over there. She's going to be floating around. It's great. If you are with Jonathan and Colette Kittle, then you're going to be in that next one right there that's kind of right back behind where that window is. If you're with Matt and Stephanie Lawrence, you're going to be straight in front of the sound booth right there. If you are with Dan and Susie McFarland, you're going to be in this one that's right back behind there. If you are going to be with Jake and Kathleen Strotterman, you're going to be back in that corner over there. If you are with Jeff and Teresa Swagger, you get the cool, cozy, comfy area. You're going to be back in the windows back there. You get a window seat. So congratulations. If you're with Denny and Alicia Vauders, you're going to be in a group that is right here. And then I think the last one is Aaron and Jeremy Warren, and you're going to be in this one right here. Did I leave anybody out? Everybody good? Okay, if you don't know where you're going, Sarah and I can help you. And I will try and let you guys know at just a couple of minutes before 10:40 so we can get going, okay? I really hate having to say this. Because do you hear it, right? You hear the buzz that's in here. It's everybody getting to know each other. It's all that type of thing. Unfortunately, we have to open those doors in 4 minutes. So here's where I need your help really fast and really desperately. If you could, let's go ahead and just stand up, and we're gonna need to put these chairs back into the rows. So where you are, close to where you are, those rows continue. So if you could just simply grab them, you're gonna need to click the chairs in together maybe for them to actually work. But if we can get those arranged back in rows, you guys are awesome. I hate that we're cutting it like this. Unfortunately, this is what we had to do to be able to get this big of a venue. Thank you so much. Remember, if you did not go to dinner last week, please come tonight, 5 o'clock, right here in this room. Dinner will start at 5 o'clock. We'll have dinner right around 5:45, that type of thing, be done by 7 o'clock. And if you need childcare and you need us to reimburse, please let us know that as well, okay? All right, thank you much.